both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
Wow. It's been quite a long time. These holidays, I don't know. Alex, you said that they were dragging for you, but for me, they just are sorry. You
Going
said
fast.
they were going fast. With
Yeah.
me, it was dragging. Well, being sick didn't help either. So I mean, just things just went like so slow. But anyways, we're back. Second half of season 16 here. And this evening we have somebody we haven't had on a long time, Lyle Blackburn. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back after a long time.
It has been a long time. I think it's got to be like close to 10 years. I think close to 10 years since you were last on the show. And
I think Steve and I both had dark hair at the time.
yeah, we both had hair. And I think you had just released this sucker here.
Yeah, then that would have been around 10 years ago.
Yeah.
More, a little more.
Yeah, a little more. Oh my. So how are you doing? How is everything going?
Well, it's going good. Really, since the release of that book, my life has changed somewhat, all for the better. Busier, better, more beastly. So
More beastly.
yeah, I mean, really just fast forward in the time from the release of that book till now, it's been other books, numerous podcasts, television shows, documentaries, just you name it. If it has to do with cryptids, I've been doing it.
Just for those who are catching up, have no idea who Lyle Blackburn is. And all the links are in the description. So if anybody wants to look at Lyle's website, check the description notes, and you can click the link and check out more on Lyle. But just give people a little refresher as to who you are and what you do.
The short answer is I'm that guy in the black hat.
Yeah.
The longer version is I am a guy who has always been into movie monsters and cryptids, something I discovered when I was young. I grew up to become a musician and a writer, and eventually that's what led to writing The Beast of Boggy Creek, which is a book about a pretty famous Bigfoot film called The Legend of Boggy Creek, which came out back in the 1970s. And it was something I saw when I was very young. And that just really captured my imagination because it dramatizes sightings of a scary Bigfoot-like creature in southern Arkansas. And I was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, which is only about 3 hours from there. So that was sort of my backyard, my woods. And I grew up hunting with my father, and he's an avid hunter. So I spent a lot of time in the woods and in these little small towns. And as I began to learn that there were sightings of, unknown type creatures, monsters, in my mind, they were monsters when I was a kid. And that just stuck with me. So I've now just sort of, I now am a musician and a monster hunter, if you will. So I juggle a little bit of both of those, which are my passions, and that's what I do.
Do the two ever cross over? Like, do you ever write music based on some of these creatures? Just out of curiosity?
No, I never had. Before I wrote that book, I had formed a band called Ghoultown, which is a sort of horror Western type dark Western band, and the themes and the imagery of that are just kind of its own thing. So I've dabbled with trying to kind of write some songs about cryptids, but it always just kind of seemed cheesy or it didn't quite fit. So I just left those two. It's like my day job and my night job, or interchangeably. One's at night, both are at night.
So going back to the Boggy, the Beast of Boggy Creek and the movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, just how accurate was the movie in comparison to the actual accounts?
It's quite accurate, actually. and that's one of the things I wanted to discover or find out for myself when I started the process of writing the book, which
Yeah.
began years before, uh, before the book came out. So, um, I knew it was based on some real reports, and there was a few newspaper articles you could find on the internet at the time. But
Yeah.
once I went up to the town of Fouke, or that is in Arkansas, and started researching and looking and finding more newspaper accounts and talking to people, I realized that the whole movie basically is just a dramatization of what real people reported. And the timeline is a little different. I mean, it's structured in a way where it works well with the movie. Totally understandable. A few of the encounters are slightly since dramatized. I mean, they're not, but not really. I mean, and that's the thing, that the director Charles Pierce and the writer Earl Smith, they really didn't have to embellish or make anything up, because this is just one of those strange but true stories that you just can't even imagine is happening in real life. So all they really did is just turn that into the sort of a docudrama horror film, which is just how it played out in real life. So I I went through carefully to try to distill what was true, what was different, what the chronological order of this was. And in my new one of the newer books called the Boggy Creek Case Book, I actually have an appendix where I tell the scene in the movie and what it was based on,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
any nuances that were different or whatever. And you read that, you can literally see that it was just pulled from real life.
I'll have to pick that up then. That's interesting. So, and again, that movie was it's a mark. It really left a mark when I saw that. I was young when I saw that as well, but probably not as young as you were, because probably had a little bit more access to it where you were when you were a kid. But man, I just remember, wow, this is just crazy. This based on a true story. Just imagine what those people went through. And
Yeah.
and trying to get people to believe, because I mean, we're talking about a small town where, like, how many people live in Folk? Like, roughly what, 300
I
at the
think the
time?
population now is officially around 900.
Oh, 900. Okay.
It was probably, let's say, no more than 500 people back when that was made. So, yeah,
So
very small.
so trying to get people to believe that this unfolded, you know, and I mean, what kind of backlash did people take? Trying to tell these people, look, if this really did happen.
Well, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And also, think about the timing of that as well, because the movie uh, was based mostly on the situations that happened in 1971. Now, that's
Okay.
not the first time there were reports, but that's the first time it actually was printed in the paper. Because
Okay.
prior to that, there were years of people reporting this,
Mhm.
but well, not even reporting it, but just having these encounters, and family and friends knew about it or whatever, but it never got to the newspaper, so it wasn't public. But in 1971, at least they didn't even know what Bigfoot was. I mean, nobody in southern Arkansas really had a concept of Bigfoot at that time. I
Mhm.
mean, what they saw is, described like a Bigfoot, or what we would think of. And of course, now it's like, oh yeah, Bigfoot, man, that's cool. I saw a
Yeah.
show, or my uncle's. Back then, you say you saw something like that in the woods, and people are like, what hooch are you drinking, and are you
Mm.
crazy? And so they really didn't want to. They didn't really want any of this attention. And some of the people who had had encounters, like in the 1960s, there were some teenagers and stuff. They just were ridiculed,
Mm.
and suffered a lot of that, because um, it just wasn't an accepted thing. So the backlash here was that you had this really small town that doesn't really want attention like this.
Yeah.
They didn't want the newspaper. That they especially did not want a hit movie which no one even expected would happen anyway.
Mhm.
So then you had all these people coming to their town, running amok in the woods, hunting the monster. Some people made the best out of it, at the cafe, selling Boggy Creek burgers. And then a lot of the townsfolk were just like, this is embarrassing and ridiculous.
Mhm.
And even if we have a monster, we don't want this kind of attention. So it was not just a cryptid story, but it was a sociological, scenario, a nightmare for a small, slow-paced rural town.
Yeah, and I guess, well, as you mentioned, there's a lot more accounts outside what the movie covers.
Right, and that's what I discovered as well. Is it wasn't just a matter of a couple of them. I mean, there's a couple of sort of those, uh, you know, seminal ones that are the most dramatic. That
Mhm.
especially the ending scene, the Ford scene at the end of the movie. That was a prolonged situation where these people were being assailed by this, strange creature
Mhm.
at their home. So you've got those, but in between that and the outside the movie, there were all sorts of other reports that they just couldn't put all that stuff in there.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when I start digging into it, was, you know, originally when I wrote The Beast of Boggy Creek, I had some people come forward and say, I've never told anybody, or my uncle had this and now he's passed on and he didn't want to tell people to know, but it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I started adding many more into there. And of course, once the book comes out, and now I'm on, TV shows and stuff as the sort of focal point, and looking into it, there, you know, that's why I did the Boggy Creek case book, because there's so many more than what I had when I did the Beast of Boggy Creek, that
Mhm.
it's just sort of a continuing thing, not just old encounters either, but ongoing encounters. There's, since that book came out, I've researched new ones in the last 10 years where I could go and interview the people myself. And, I know that area. So I know where they saw it. I know how that relates to other sightings. So I've
Mhm.
just been building this catalog of reports that really puts more credibility to the whole story.
Now, have you yourself gone out and looked for the possibility of this creature being there?
Yes. I think I couldn't be a good cryptid journalist if I didn't go to some of these areas.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's great to meet with the witnesses and talk to them, but also, in a situation like this where there's this, what they call the Sulphur River bottoms,
Mhm.
the Sulphur River, and it spreads out with this swampy, rugged hardwood bottomland habitat, there in near the small town of Fouke, which today parts of that are just exactly as they were back when the movie was made
Oh,
50
wow.
years ago. So I've gone in there. I grew up hunting and I love
Mhm.
camping, and I've gone in there numerous times
Yeah.
on just just going through the swamp, just paddling through the swamp at midnight, and hiking, all the muddy roads, looking for footprints and all that sort of thing. In it, just it's a beautiful place, but also, hey, to have these encounters, and I have some weird things have happened, and I have seen something, but
Mhm.
that goes hand in hand with researching this from the academic point, but
Yeah.
also just let's go in the swamp, let's find this thing.
Now, I mean, local creatures, animals and everything else local to that area. I mean, there's nothing that you could remotely think of that would somebody would have mistaken this monster, this creature as.
Right, and that would be the first thing we have to rule out.
Yeah.
What explanations are there?
Mhm.
And so yeah, the indigenous creatures, and there's some dangerous ones. I worry more about you know venomous snakes
Mhm.
and panthers and stuff in there.
Yeah.
You have wild hogs, just usual stuff, deer. Um, there are cougars in there, mountain lions. Um, whatever you want to call them. And occasionally there are some black bear that have been in there. I've even seen a photo. So, but they're very few and far between. I've never seen even a bear track in all the years I've been in there. And some of my buddies who live there or hunt there, they're like, yeah, I saw one bear track once or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's unlikely that a bear could be responsible for all of this. So, if then you rule out some sort of mass hoax, people, oh, well, it's my cousin dressed in a suit. Well, your cousin's pretty old, because I got sightings back to the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And many of these were by hunters in sitting in tree stands and other things. I just really don't think you're going to walk through the woods. That might account for a road crossing sighting.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking what, like, and I don't want to say an explosion of accounts. We're what late 60s, early 70s, roughly.
Right. There was in the mid 60s, there was a sort of a flap of sightings.
Yeah.
And then they really ramped up in 1971, where, for whatever reason, again, there was just an explosion of sightings all at once, where numerous people, credible people, saw something they couldn't explain.
And it just, I can't, like you say, I can't see anyone around that period going around in a suit. And, in this case, you would really need, like, we're talking about a movie props suit, whatever, to be convincing of this crazy wild man Bigfoot type creature.
Yeah. I mean, you might fool somebody to distance, but you would have to have pretty good quality, because some of these witnesses, even in recent times, have had a pretty darn good look. I mean, I had a woman that had a sighting in 10:30 a.m. in the morning on a clear day, and it stood in front of her car for a minute before it ran back into the woods. I mean, unless you got some elaborate costume, you're not fooling anyone. So, the only other, well, I mean, there's people come up and say, oh, you know what that was? It was this, it was that. And, people like, well, there was a circus train that crashed down there. And, okay, which I looked into. I did actually find a circus truck wrecked in Mena, Arkansas, which is many hours north of Fountain, back in a time period. But you always hear these rumors, oh, it's a circus train wreck, and that's what it is. But even that, it's like, okay, even if there was a circus train wreck, which, okay, but what circuses have a 7-foot tall, ape-like creature that walks upright, doesn't look like a gorilla or a chimpanzee? I don't know of that. I don't know of that circus. So those explanations are, people hear them and then they just pass them on as if, yeah. And I'm saying, well, when did the circus train wreck? Well, I don't know. I just heard it. I just heard.
Yeah.
So, people just kind of latch on with what they believe is the truth of it. But, they may or may not have looked into it. And I get that. But when you start delving into it, like I have, and spend a decade sorting it out, at the end of the day, none of these explanations add up to explain it. And if you want to throw out 90% of the witnesses and get down to the ones where they saw it very close, these witnesses are very articulate, very smart, intelligent. You rule out everything else. You're just sitting there going, I got no explanation other than this person saw something that we cannot at this moment completely explain.
Yeah, it's it's one of those again, cinematic sort of experiences that has stuck with me. And it just, like I said, as we were talking backstage, or with the new Blu-ray, or the latest release Blu-ray, and again on 4K. But wow, just incredible. The Legend of Boggy Creek, I highly recommend. If anyone has never seen it, check it out. I mean, it gives you like that sort of, that docudrama sort of like, wow, this is really happening. This is really happening. You know,
I
really.
remember seeing it when I was a kid. I couldn't understand because I kept thinking in my mind, how was the news there right when the person saw it? Like,
Yeah.
how did they know to be there? Because I was so young, I just was confused. I didn't know what a reenactment was, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, we're familiar with reenactments now on numerous cable television shows that talk about cryptids. They do reenactments.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
did that all come from? That came from the Legend of Boggy Creek. It's literally was the format to the precursor to not only found footage type horror films,
Hmm.
which became a thing with like Blair Witch Project,
Hmm.
but it's also kind of that the template that was used to show reenactments, you know, later in on the television show In Search of, and then
Yeah.
you know Monster Quest. Everything is followed. So it's just something when you watch it, you just kind of think about the time period and how influential it is. And of course, there's some music in there and the soundtrack, and I mean, some of it is dated, and that's just what happens in an old movie, especially one made by a guy who made a movie on his own. This is not a Hollywood thing.
No, no, no.
It features real people. In many cases, the actual people from Falk that had these encounters or were involved in it. Those are the people in the film, and that's why it seems so real because it
Mm.
really was. You know, they kind of overdubbed some narration and used other people kind of telling the stories because they had to make it quality,
Yeah.
you know, the audio of it. But what you see on these on the updated Blu-ray, and that's a whole was a long process of I never thought this would even happen, is the film was restored, and that's because the director's daughter, um, Pamela Pierce
Hmm.
Barcelona, um, came into play following my book and got in touch with me, and you know she had the she had the connections and the legality to get a hold and get the rights and to have it restored by Eastman Kodak to put it back into this format that probably was more superior than what was released originally.
Yeah.
I I never even thought that day would come, much less me to have like a commentary track on that movie that I loved as a kid. So all this has sort of become like this surreal thing where I've become part of the continuing legend of this film. So
You've become a part of the lore.
you can't put a price on that, right?
No, you can't.
Now
Jeez.
you just have to find the actual creature.
Well, that would be something else.
Yeah.
Speaking of it, I mean, you have encountered some kind of weird stuff, or have found some kind of weird, like what are we talking about? Anything that kind of has made you go, well, okay, look at, yeah, we might be catching,
Um,
we might have.
yeah, I mean, I've had strange experiences in my travels, but specifically in the Boggy Creek area.
Hmm.
Um, there's been, we found footprints
Hmm.
that look pretty convincing, compelling.
Hmm.
Um, One time, a number of years ago, myself and my late friend Tom, who went in there a lot with me, we were something howled at us while we were canoeing up the Bayou Channel.
Okay.
There's a bayou called Mercer Bayou, which is that body of water. When you watch the movie and you see the hermit,
Okay. Yeah.
Herbert Jones, he lived on Mercer Bayou. So what you literally see there, um, we were we were near there canoeing at midnight or some sensible hour, and we hear this something just start howling, and you hear it once, you're like, was that like the weirdest coyote or what? It howls again, you're like, nope, not a coyote, not a fox, not what is that? It's not a bird. It sounds much too big. It howled again, and by this time we were just convinced that literally could be the creature, but we couldn't see it. Um, and it got quiet following that, and then eventually we just kind of turned around and canoed back down this bayou, and we were
Hmm.
camped on a hill. There, there's alligators in there and everything else. You can't just camp right, on the
Yeah.
side of the bayou. So we were camped on this hill. No sooner we got the canoe out and we had walked up on that hill where our tent was, all of a sudden this howl came from right down there where we pulled the canoe out.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was loud. And I immediately just grabbed the flashlight and ran down that hill, just trying to see what it was. And whatever it was on the other side of the water channel. And it, within just seconds, ran probably 50 yards, howled again,
Wow.
and then ran further and howled again. And then they just went silent, which was, once you're done with that, your heart's beating and it's scary.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
were we that close? Like,
Yeah.
did it follow us down the creek? How did that even happen? And so that was a pretty scary experience. And then in 2021, I was in Fouke during the afternoon, and I was with two people, and we had gone to what's known as the Monster Mart. It's a convenience store there with a giant Bigfoot on the top. It's got a little museum that you can see with Legend of Boggy Creek stuff.
Okay.
And we were on our way to interview a woman who had sent me some really convincing howls, and she was convinced that the creature was around her property. So we went and we stopped at that place where we had been camped that night just to see the bayou and see the levels and stuff on our way to where this woman was. I'm standing there looking at these two trees, these huge cypress trees, which are kind of like landmarks, and they were, you can see them in one of the Monster Quest episodes. And I'm looking between them or whatever, and something catches my eye, and I think, was that leaves or like a wind? And then I see it again, and I'm really looking at that area, and I just see this big something walk across there.
Oh, wow.
And it was reddish in color. And I mean, this was just about that. I mean, it moved across this, and I could see it very clearly, and it was kind of different than the background. So there was no mistake. And that's an area where you can't get there without a boat. You can't get across that channel. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't walk through there.
No, you never know what I'd encounter.
There's alligators all down in there. And I don't, that mud, that peat mud is like quicksand. It'll just suck you right in.
Suck you right in. Yeah, that's insane. And this was during the day.
This was during the day. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon. So I'm looking, and I see that thing. And, and I tell my friend Jerry's there and my girlfriend. Of course, they were just literally looking in the other direction for those moments and did not see it. So, and we couldn't get over there right then to pursue it. But that is a place where I have, in all 12 or more years I've been down, I've never seen a single person over there. It's not private land. There's no road over there. There's no four-wheelers, nothing. It's just sort of like a no man's land, and all of this spreading out from there is. And so I'm like, yeah, what did I just see? And here's the kicker. We had been up at the Monster Mart, and we were, when I was there, I was talking to a local man who said he had seen the creature weeks before. He said, I saw the thing. He said to me, it looked kind of like an orangutan or some kind of that color thing. Yeah. And I literally, not like 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, see something of that color. So, I don't want to say 100% that was what it is, because it was kind of from its side, and it was, whatever it was huge, and it moved through there. I don't know, have any other explanation except perhaps I saw the thing, and it's sort of the carrot that continues to dangle.
Yeah.
Reddish carrot.
Want you to keep coming back, and then like say, hey, look, I might see even more. Yeah, that's insane. That would be freaky. That would be really, really intense. especially during the day.
Yeah, it was odd. And I mean, and that's the thing. You get, there's no exact consistency. If everybody saw it at 10 p.m. at night in this one spot, you could go and predict a sighting. But everything is so, seen in the day, all hours, various colors, even differences in height, so obviously there would conceivably not be with the one creature, but a population of these things, which is fully possible if you guys came to the Sulphur River bottoms with me and started looking around, you would realize, wow, it's miles upon miles of just open land and thick trees and swampy areas that there's nobody back there.
And I mean, and we're talking about Arkansas, where Arkansas pretty much meets Texas, right?
Right. It's right in. It's called the Arklatex, which is Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. So
Okay,
it's right in that little triangle of where all those states, and it's not really even far from Oklahoma in a way.
Okay.
And if you kind of zoom out and look at that place, it is heavy with Bigfoot sightings. Like East Texas is very wooded and it's known as the Piney Woods, and then north parts of Louisiana, plenty of woods there. And then as you get up in the southeastern portion of Oklahoma, there's mountain. It starts going up in the Ouachita Mountains, tons of sightings up there. So this whole area makes a lot of sense as far as a southern Bigfoot hotspot.
That's crazy. Now, the folk monster obviously is the main sort of thing there. But I mean, we're talking about sightings of creatures of different names. I mean, in and around there, right? I mean, there's different names. Is it the same creature, or is it a different creature altogether? What's that sort of map out like?
Yeah, and I love that sort of regionalized names. You got the Fouke monster / Boggy Creek monster, and then if you go, south into Texas, there's a place called Caddo Lake, which is another swampy. You actually see that being filmed in other movies like Creature from Black Lake and some other movies. But the creature there is known as the Caddo creature or the Marion County monster. You have the Lake Worth monster, you have the Noxie monster, the abominable chicken man in Oklahoma. You've got numerous regional names that people come up with, newspaper journalists or just things that have been passed down. But when you get down to it, you start looking at the descriptions of the creatures. They all sort of basically a Bigfoot-like creature. And so the Caddo creature could very well be the same thing as the Boggy Creek monster.
Yeah.
Just based on descriptions, and perhaps, obviously if they move from one area to another, or they're seen in other areas, they're just connected to that. People connect it to an area, like everything is given to cryptids. The Dover demon. Everything has a connection to where it's seen, just so it has some descriptive element. Same thing here. So they could very well be the same, same species or population of creatures. It just depends on who sees it and what journalist makes up a cool name.
Now, why is it, do you think that that quite possibly there hasn't been any really I guess hard evidence, or maybe a corpse or something of one of these creatures, or so on and so on? Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the hard answer there, and what sort of the hinge point to try to explain, especially the longer it goes and we don't have a body and we have technology and we have diminishing domain where, other animals are kind of been flushed out, you wonder about that. And I mean, just because there is no body doesn't mean that disproves it. It just
No.
harder to swallow. But rightly so. But I mean, you know, you just kind of go back to the comparison to bears. You know, it's like they're bears have been reported in Falk, and I don't
Mhm.
know one single person, and I know a lot of guys there who hunt and fish and have been in those woods all their life. Not one of them has come on up on a dead bear.
Yeah.
Not even a, you know, the bones of a bear. Like, oh, it's a skull. What is a skull? It's a bear. You know, never happened. But bears, we know bears exist, and bears
Yeah.
do come through those areas, but they're going to be in very small numbers.
Yeah.
And if we sort of project that any of these creatures are living in even smaller numbers, it just diminishes that possibility of finding a dead one to a very small lucky chance. And you know, who's to say some you know, hunter hasn't walked by some disgusting looking hairy thing
Yeah.
dead over there, and it literally be one of these creatures. But if it was decayed, and he's not going to pick it up, it's just like, oh, there's something dead in the woods, I'm going the other direction. So somebody could have seen it.
I mean, even so, though, Lyle, I mean, somebody would, you know, take a picture of, say, a corpse, or some animal, dead animal, or whatever else that seems very suspicious. So I've never seen anything like this. Automatically, I think most people would just discount it, saying, "Well, it's probably just like a mangy bear or whatever," and perhaps it could be, in fact, a corpse of one, you know, one of these creatures.
Yeah, you know, there's any of number of scenarios, and it would just have to be the right circumstances to where one of these dies and somebody finds it fast enough, or it gets hit by a car or whatever, that's an indisputable and unlucky circumstance for them. So um, I think one thing is, you know, we talk a lot about sightings, and you have access to the internet now, and it
Yeah.
just all these shows and stuff. It just seems like these creatures are just running amok. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And when you get down to it, it's like even the sighting I had, I'm like, I'm not going to go and say, yeah, I definitely saw it, you know, because I just didn't see it close enough to say
Mm.
100%. See, so if you even that, so you, okay, well, let's just not count that one. There's a lot of conjecture and speculation. We heard something stalking us in the woods. It had to be Bigfoot. You throw all that stuff out, it boils down to there is not that many sightings. You know,
No, no.
they're they're more rare and few and far between. So that kind of explains why there's not just bodies being found and just, you know, you just walk into the woods and get a picture. It's like it is so hard to find one of these and get it, have a very close sighting, much harder than people realize. So I think that goes hand in hand with how we've just been unable to get
Yeah.
get something or get a body, you know.
That's not even taking into account that if these creatures are intelligent at all, they could literally be burying them God knows where,
Yeah.
inside caverns, cave systems that we're not even aware of yet, or deep
Mhm.
underground. You just don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, once you play in the projected intelligence, and they would certainly have to be logically be more intelligent than an average animal, or they would just be armadillos, just, you know, laying on their backs inside of the road. Um, it, we're up against something that we don't even understand, and the proclivity to bury their dead or to all that stuff, and just not in our favor, you know.
You know, sightings and encounters now. Have they? Are they still? They're still going on. They're still going on. And what about frequency? Now, if they're still going on.
Um, I would say I was getting maybe a half dozen reports a year,
Oh wow. Okay.
or so. Not a lot, but in the last few years, it's been there's been even less. I don't know how to explain that. It's been it's been hot and kind of dry. Usually we were theorizing that the more dry it is in the bottoms, the more likely they would come out and move around to higher ground or had to forage for food.
Yeah.
Um, it's been a little lighter in the last few years, but it kind of seems to come in waves. And but the consistency of it has been that. I mean, especially since I've been trying to track these and follow up on things, is there has been sightings every year for the last 10 years, for sure.
Wow. And the difference in these encounters are they, or sightings or whatever else. I mean, we're not talking about the intensity. We're not talking about the same sort of level of intensity that they had back in the early 70s.
Right. Yeah, I haven't gotten it. There hasn't been any reports where people have been, attacked, or it hasn't tried to get into homes and that kind of stuff. And I mean, the movie kind of gives you an idea that these creatures are just out of control and they're just tearing stuff up and they're trying to get into houses. But even back in the 70s, a little bit of that, and there was just people who saw it go across the road or whatever, or hey, our livestock disappeared, it must have been a monster. So yeah, I haven't gotten anything like that. It's just all the newer sightings have been just people observing these creatures going across the road or in near their home or while they're hunting or things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I do have a question from Melissa.
Yeah.
She wants to know, do you think that there are any female ones and or baby ones?
Well, yeah, I mean, logically, if we were going to assume there's some sort of a population of these, there would have to be male and female present. I had a woman in 2014 that I interviewed who, I mentioned this a minute ago, who saw one of these creatures, presumably at 10:30 a.m. The week before Thanksgiving, and she lives right on the Sulphur River, which is on the Texas side. Sulphur River goes from Texas into Arkansas, there where it all kind of joins. And she was driving up to see her mother in the hospital and realized she had forgotten something. So she stopped and kind of turned around. And when she started driving back the other way, this thing just was standing in the middle of the road, and she stopped and observed it. And she said it was about 5 feet in height. It was covered in hair. It was some kind of an animal, but it was standing on 2 legs. And she said it just looked at her like it was surprised. It was heading from a thick line of woods on one side, and there was kind of an open field on the other, and it was going towards that field. And she said it just stood there, and she could see the hair blowing like just slightly in the breeze. And she said, as I observed it, she said, it's not a costume. This is not like a prank or a Halloween costume. It's some kind of thing standing there. It turned, and she said it just darted back into the woods and disappeared. And when I interviewed her, she said, I don't understand. I thought Bigfoot was, 7 or 8 feet tall. And let me tell you, this woman was freaked out. I mean, I could see she did not want to have seen this. And she was trying to understand it. I said, well, I mean, I don't know if this helps you any, but this could have been a youth, which means there's a family living near your home. That's horrible. So there's an example of, yes, I would say babies to youth, and that would explain why you see one that's 5 feet tall. The next guy says, no, man, this thing was like 7 feet tall, because you're not just seeing the same individual.
And you kind of wonder too about life expectancy with these things as well. I mean, if they're seeing these, how far back are we talking about sighting wise that you've been able to report?
Uh,
research?
the oldest one I have is roughly 1908.
Oh, wow.
That's give or take probably, but in a wider area, if you expand out from that, just in general in Arkansas and Texas, you can go back even further. But at least in this very tight specific area, that's more than 100 years. So
Yeah.
I would just think about our life expectancy back in more primitive times, even 200 years ago. I mean, life
Yeah.
expectancy was way shorter without
Exactly.
medicines and all that stuff. So if these things live 30 years, that's three or four generations of these things in that time period.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Um, we're going to come up to a break here in a few minutes. After when we come back, I'd like to talk about other creatures that you probably have looked into and researched and might have an interest in, as well as other stuff. Um, but with the continuing on with the folk monster, um, now in terms of going back to the movie and the people that were involved with the movie, is there like any of the families still around that you've been able to chat with and sort of get a gist of that particular incident?
Yes. Let's see, specifically from the movie, I mean, a lot of those folks are have passed on or are
Yeah.
passing on and things like that. But I talked to there's the scene with the girl that goes out to the water well and she's inside and she's reading and the thing comes a window. That was based on a woman by the name of Mary Beth Searcy, and
Okay.
that is her real name, and that is actually her house shown in the movie.
Oh, wow.
That is the only house still standing that's shown in the movie that um, that you can see, and it's on private property. It's not like a tourist attraction or anything, but I have her brother still lives on the property, and I've gone down there and sat in their living room and talked to him at length about his family's experiences and his sister. She's passed on now, but um, sat there and that gives you just a whole lot of additional background information and credibility to what you see in the movie. And it's pretty cool to be able to experience that and talk to people who have that kind of connection to that beloved film that we saw as a kid.
Yeah, that'd be that'd be really, really cool to sit down and it's like in the beginning of the movie, and the kids running across the field there and you hear the growl and the kid keeps running and then goes into what was it, the gas station, the local gas station there, whatever. And
Yeah.
the three older guys are there chatting and talking, and oh, there's that kid again. The woman's sending the kid again. They see this creature. I guess I better get over and check it out, maybe. But just the fact that these the three old timers are sitting down and they're talking and they're chatting. Uh, of course, that went on a lot back then because there really wasn't a lot going on, right? Other than it maybe working or doing your farming or maybe doing a little bit of hunting or whatnot. But I mean, and I guess that sort of ritual, if you will, kind of heightened the creature's presence in the town.
Right. I mean, and again, that movie that was Willie Smith's service station,
Yeah.
which is that's a real place. And that was based on an actual thing where that woman lived way out there and she sent that kid running up to the town to tell somebody that they had seen a big old hairy wild man in their field, as they termed it in the movie.
Yeah.
Just literally, the director Charles Pierce, they told him that story and he filmed it. And Willie Smith is the one that said, "Well, go down there and tell your mama that ain't a thing to worry about. I'll come down there tomorrow and check it out." that's Willie, and that's real. Like I say, they're just hanging out there. So those stories were being passed around.
Yeah.
And before the newspaper, before the Texarkana Gazette picked it up, that was what was going on down there. So these people are discussing this thing. They all knew about it, already. Once the newspaper and the movie came out, well, it's like, yeah, we've talked about this for years. So those circumstances really heighten the effect of it because they're real, they're genuine. This isn't made up by a Hollywood guy or imagining like, what would it be like in Arkansas if dude, this is the real thing. Willie Smith, literally Willie Smith, that was a real dude. And I knew his son. Willie was passed on well before I started working on the book, but
Yeah.
I used to hang out in the Monster Mart and drink coffee with his son, and his son would tell me all sorts of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Just to fill in all that sort of like minutia that a geek like me would love about this film. So I asked a million questions, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, your dad's Willie Smith, man. This is crazy, So it was stuff like that was still going on because I'm sitting here in a coffee shop, whatever, 40 years later, talking to this guy about the same exact subject as those guys were talking about when the little kid runs in there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. That is so cool. We're going to take a break here. When we come back with Lyle, obviously we'll talk a little bit more about other creatures that you might be interested in and done some research on, and so on and so on. You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course simulcasting here on our YouTube and Twitch channels. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Lyle Blackburn. Hold tight.
I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada. I founded it in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now. And I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. And, there's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials.
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisionsRadio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding, their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
And that you are. Welcome back for those of you listening on the New Visions Radio Network. And again, simulcasting here on YouTube and Twitch. I want to welcome back, obviously, this evening's guest, and that's Lyle Blackburn. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
We've been talking about the folk monster at great length. What about other cryptid monsters that you've been interested in, that you've sort of did a little bit of research of dove into, or you have interest in? What are we talking about? What are we looking at here?
Well, of course, I love all cryptids. But, the ones that I have looked into at great length would also include the Bishopville Lizard Man, which my second book was about that case, and that was from the late 80s in Bishopville, South Carolina, in which people reported seeing this upright reptilian humanoid type creature that was seen in and around an area called Scapor Swamp. So here we have another sort of swampy creature, but this time sort of more of a creature from the Black Lagoon type thing, if you will. And lizard man or lizard men is sort of a category of cryptids that encompasses these reptilian humanoids. And that's always interested me, just in a creepy sort of sense of that kind of thing, and seeing that in a wooded area or a swamp or whatever. So that was one I was interested in, and that involved a lot of the investigation by the Lee County Sheriff's Office. I spent a lot of time with the retired sheriff, Liston Truesdale, who was involved heavily in that case back in the late 80s and into the 90s, in which people continued to report sightings of this. So that was one. And, and that kind of loosely connects to other sightings. I wrote a book called Sinister Swamps, which kind of covers, well, more swamps. Where you have swamps, you have a lot of strange and spooky tales, not just of cryptids, but all manner of paranormal type things.
Well, why do you think swamps, though? I mean, they're creepy as hell, but why swamps?
Well, I suppose
yeah, swamp gas. Yeah.
Well, that's what everybody says. Like it was swamp gas. Yeah. Swamp gas that looked like a reptilian humanoid or pterodactyl.
Well, it was either swamp gas or somebody's gas.
Oh God.
So swamps. Obviously, it's sort of the go-to environment. Like every Scooby-Doo episode, the old mansion was right next to the swamp. And it's monstrous. But these are places that are usually very little development, like they're a place that something, if it was to remain, secluded or to have a chance to dwell outside of our realm of development, then, swamp would be the place. There's plenty of food source, water, there's everything you would need. A lot of Native American tribes even lived lived in swampy areas as well, because of just the way you can sustain yourself in these areas. So in that journey with the swamp book, which actually was, when I got into the Bishopville thing, I was actually already kind of researching swamps. And then that just was such a huge story. I ended up making that my next book.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until years later that I sort of collected enough from all over to do the swamp book. But yeah, they're just spooky places, and I'm kind of drawn to that. I mean, I live in the South. I love the Southern aspect to these, and there are just plenty of stories here that I don't really have to go and write, just another Bigfoot, Northwest Bigfoot book. People ask me about this. Like, there's a ton of those by really good authors and guys who've researched that, but there's not say as much stuff written about the Southern. Never been a book on Boggy Creek. It was. There's never been a book on the Lizard Man. So those, and I've done other cryptid books.
I when you say Lizardman, I always envision the old Amazing Spider-Man episode from the 60s, with he's in the swamp and he's got the lizard dude, the lizard man guy that he's got a battle with.
Yeah, he wears like a white lab coat.
Lab coat, the purple pants there.
Got the tail. Which, if you look at some of the newspaper articles, that the illustrator kind of drew the creature as that, but nobody described it as that. It was more humanoid and creepy, like no tail and all that. But that just, there's the things that we see in cryptozoology, or the themes we see in folklore and religion. There's a connection between all that stuff and now in pop culture.
Yeah.
So these are things that have been, I don't want to say recycled, but things that have been present in our collective stories for many years, whether they're shown in one format or light and shown something else. But that, I think we have a fear of this reptilian race of or what, some possibly intelligent thing that's a cross between a creepy lizard or a snake and something that can walk upright and think intelligently. There's something creepy about that.
Well, I think most people just find snakes and reptiles and, creepy as it is, but yeah, add intelligence to it and upright. Yeah, you've got disaster. What about the infamous skunk ape in Everglades in Florida and stuff like that? Have you looked into that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I talked about specifically the Everglades and the Big Cypress Preserve in the Swamp Book, in which I
Hmm.
talk about this history of skunk ape sightings, and in my
Yeah.
book called Beyond Boggy Creek, which is a Southern Bigfoot book.
Hmm.
There's a whole chapter on that because the state of Florida, from the Everglades and north into the other parts, just a long history of sightings of this essentially a Bigfoot-like creature that's known there regionally as the skunk ape.
Yeah.
And I've been out to the Ocala National Forest, where I spent some time researching and probing in those woods out there, and um, that was interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely all about the skunk ape.
What about what creature haven't you looked that you'd like to look more into?
Well, I've in my work with small town monsters, we've done a lot of documentaries. I'm the narrator, sometimes in them.
Hmm.
We've explored the Mothman in a couple of
Hmm.
those, Rougarou and some other ones. I think the one thing I haven't done as much on is lake monsters.
Oh yeah,
Um,
lake monsters. Yeah.
and that's partially because in the South we don't have a lot of natural lakes. Most of this is man-made lakes, smaller
Hmm.
lakes. Whereas you have Lake Champlain or uh, you know other Great Lakes and things where you have sightings of these water-based creatures. We don't have as much of that. We have a few river monsters and some other stuff. So that's
Yeah.
one thing I haven't done a lot of over the years. Of course, Dogman has become very popular. On my own podcast, I've done some episodes on Dogman, and I've tried to start collecting more of those stories. I guess just simply because I've noticed there's a lot in and around Texas and other places. So I've tried to start fielding some of those reports and interviewing witnesses myself. So that I'm looking into that.
Lyle, I have a personal experience I could give you.
Perfect. I need that. Yes. A- And I,
I
and I, and I must say that I like those where it's not just where I know the witness. Those are the best kind of things.
it's funny because you mentioned the dog man and Michigan is a huge area where the dog man's been sighted, but I had a sighting of a very unusual creature, um and I've done so much back research on it myself, and to this day I can't figure out what the hell it was that I had witnessed, other than it was something that is just no, there's absolutely no way it was. People go, well, it's a bear, a malnutrition bear. No, there's no bear in this area. um Literally, what I thought it was just like a canine, sort of maybe a coyote, or something like that. And what happened was it ran up from underneath a bridge, and I was walking on the opposite side, just walking, and this is probably like two in the morning, something like that. There's no traffic, and all of a sudden this thing crosses the road and goes through. There's a grassy medium, so the bridge was split in two, and there's a big tree right at the base of it, and this thing stops right in front of this tree, and it's staring me down. I stopped. I said, okay, what the hell is that thing? I'm thinking coyote. All of a sudden, it stood up on its hind legs and stood there and stood there. And I'm like, okay, wait a sec. What animal can do this? and just stood there. And like the front legs just hung there like it was like human like. And the head was small. But what I kind of equate it to, if there's ever like kind of an artist rendition of what it kind of comes close to looking like appearance wise, there was a case here in the 70s, I believe it was 1978, called the Toronto Tunnel Creature. And if you Google it, you'll see there was a front page article that broke in one of the newspapers here. And on the front was an artist rendition of what was taken from the witness's account. And I saw this thing and I'm like, wait a sec, that is pretty much what I saw, minus the red glowing eyes. I didn't see red glowing eyes. But I'm like, shape wise, this is like what I saw almost. So yeah, crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah,
But
it's always something when you can find some corroborating material, especially, or if you a lot of times I'll be interviewing people and one person will tell me something that sounds like something else somebody told me, and these people don't know each other. So
yeah,
always helpful.
Well, I had a writer friend of mine, ours, who wrote an article for UFO Digest, and it broke on UFO Digest, and she got some calls from people in that particular area where I'd witnessed it years later, saying that they had witnessed a similar or the same sort of creature, and we're talking probably a good 10 years later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, something's going on there, maybe, I don't know.
Very cool.
It is, yeah, very, very, very interesting. So who knows? But yeah, you want to hear the story, I'll let you know, no problem.
Okay, yeah, I'll follow up on that.
Yeah. But yeah, in reference, so when you said the Dogman, creature, again, there was a story outside of Toronto in 1978 called they coined it the Toronto Tunnel Creature, or the Toronto Monster, or something like that. So
right.
So if you're interested, there you go. So I mean, there are so many of these cryptid sort of creatures, and now more so, like you said, mentioned earlier, because of the internet, it's like they're popping up like there's no tomorrow. Why do you think, other than the obvious reasoning being, the internet, is worldwide, and there's, so much more access and people, but I mean, why are people coming forward now and telling their stories where before they were probably afraid to?
Well, I think slowly but surely it's become more acceptable. I mean, to share this, and there's so much more of a network of people who are willing to listen. Before, if like you're skeptical about telling your own family members because you don't want to be laughed at, and it's sensitive because you probably scared you or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you can. I mean, especially if you go on a Bigfoot page on Facebook and say, I saw a Bigfoot, immediately people are like, whoa, tell us the story.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't available. I mean, when the people were seeing the Fouke monster or something in the 1960s, you just hope nobody found out you saw it. I mean, you're freaked out, and then you don't want to be laughed at, which a lot of people have experienced. But nowadays, you could find people who are willing to listen, and I think people have a much more open-mindedness about paranormal, or just they think it's cool, so they're more willing to check it out, than before, because I think this is the way society is gone. Is there's just everything is much more acceptable. We're not necessarily, well, at least some people aren't just laughing off stuff, because we realize that There, as much as we know about the world, there's still stuff we don't quite understand. And now we're getting the scope of it because we can see the internet. There's more books. There's TV shows constantly showing you all this stuff where you
Yeah.
go, okay, yeah, there's some weird stuff out there. And then you're like, hey, I saw something weird. Here's my story. So it's much easier to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, now, apart from all this, you are a musician as well. As you mentioned at the beginning of the show, Ghoultown. I mean, this is obviously a labor of love as well. Can you tell the audience a little bit about Ghoultown?
Well, Ghoultown is a band that I formed many years ago, 1999. So we've been around quite a few years. Early on, we did a lot of touring. We've recorded about 9 albums, give or take, with singles and stuff. So, that's been something I've been doing for a long time. And before that, I was in other touring bands, and also other things that were just part of what I did for a living, in addition to some writing and stuff. So Ghoultown, we just did some tour dates, and we still active in some regards. We just don't do the big tours as much anymore, but we just wrote a song for a video game called Blood West, which is a first-person horror Western type game. And the gaming company created this really cool animated video with us in it, and the game
Cool.
and everything. So those are just things that when it comes along, it's fun to do. And not that I'm lacking for things to do, but but it's all fun and all cool, and kind of mixes things up. I might do an album, and then I'm fired up to write a book, because writing a book is, it's a lot of, there's boots on the ground. You do field research, but then at the end of that, it's, sitting and writing. So, it breaks things up. So I think these two things have helped to fuel each other, to where I've been pumping out books and albums in the last decade,
Mhm.
quite a bit. So
That's awesome. Okay, and lastly, um, outside of the crypto sort of area, is there another area within the, I guess, the paranormal realm or whatever that you're interested in that you'd love to sort of do a little bit more research or look into?
Well, I love all aspects of paranormal. When I was young, I loved watching documentaries on UFOs and ghosts. I've always been into ghosts. So those are things that I will still, if I can find a cool show or a cool book, I will delve into those things. But it's really become where my time is so limited that
Yeah.
there's nothing else I could branch out and start looking into, because I simply can't even do enough with what I'm doing.
Hmm.
I have sort of a running list of cryptid books I would like to write, and it's become harder and harder to get that done. I'm appearing at dozens of conferences around the country. I mean, I'm gone. I travel every other week at least. I'm
Yeah.
gone from home. So while I have interest in other departments, um, there's nothing else I could say I'm going to go start looking into ghosts or anything else. And I'm not, I don't call myself an expert on this anyway, but
Yeah.
so I'm constantly trying to learn as much as I can, so that when
Hmm.
I am asked about these subjects, I can share quality information, and I just narrow it in. I'm the guy who hunts monsters in the woods, and that's what I do. And so I focus all energies primarily on that. So
Completely makes sense. Have anything else that you'd like to add there to all those people who are looking into cryptozoology, these creatures? I mean, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, just just have fun with it. I think, these are things that we conjecture about and people argue about, and everybody's got their opinions and all that. When you're looking into these subjects, you got to remember that nobody really has the answers. I don't have all the answers. People ask me, and I can give an opinion based on my knowledge and experience, but that is just my opinion and speculation. So you always remember that it's a lot of fun. Don't waste time arguing because nobody's right.
Yeah.
It's fun and it's great. And we're just fascinated with these mysteries, these monstrous mysteries. So I think that people should continue to have fun with it. And, if we can prove some of this, great. If we can't, at least in the process, we've had a good time. We've made good friends. I got friends all over the world. We can just beam me to somebody's house. We get some beers or coffee or whatever. We can just talk for hours
Yeah.
about these cool subjects. And that's really what it is connecting us, all like-minded people who are searching for something mysterious in life, because regular life usually sucks. Mysteries are fun and monsters are cool. So
Exactly.
Agreed.
that's what I do. And just be careful if you go in the woods. Obviously, there's you need to know what you're doing if you're traipsing around in swamps and other things. I mean, there's far more things that will probably cause you harm than that the Dogman or whatever, unless the Dogman is just having a bad night, you may be in for it. But otherwise, there's things you need to know if you're going in the woods and search. So always be safe and do your homework and have fun.
Exactly. And don't forget about your hot sauce. You got some hot sauce too.
And there's that. Yeah, there's so much. Yes, I had some grand idea that I needed a hot sauce, because I've always been I cook, and I'm from Texas. I like spice on the food. And when I used to tour Europe with my band, I would take a bunch of packets of Taco Bell hot sauce with me, because all the food I just throw hot. It's crappy, but that's what I could carry. It's portable. It wasn't glass. So years later, I decided to launch a hot sauce called Monster Sauce, and now I have three flavors and 3 levels of heat with Monster Sauce, and it's popular. When I do an appearance or whatever, I sell as many bottles of hot sauce as I do books. So it's fun.
Yeah, if you're looking for some, we got the links obviously in description, where to find Lyle and your YouTube channel and so on and so on. I want to thank you for coming on again, man. It's been a blast.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. It's fun, because I remember back when I put out that first book, and I was glad to be on every show and do as much as I can. I did a lot of interviews, and there's been a lot more shows that have happened since then, but it's fun to go back and be on one that I was on early.
Yeah.
And we're still doing it, enjoying it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, when I found out the book was coming, I'm like, one of my favorite subjects, the Boggy Creek creature, man. Oh, we gotta have Lyle on. So that yeah, awesome. Great to have you back, man.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.
Good night.
Take care. Good night.
Night. Oh wow! What a blast, man! It
A blast from the past.
Yeah, like guys, if you have not, here's a good starter right here.
Yeah.
Grab this book. Really cool. The Boggy Creek creature, the folk monster. Incredible story. Experience, account, however you want to look at it. It is wow. And the movie. The movie right there. Grab it. It's really cool, man, especially now on Blu-ray. And it's cool. This came in an envelope like that.
That's pretty cool.
And of course, they got a t-shirt too. I had to get the shirt, man. I've always loved the cover of the movie.
So is the t-shirt like with hair fibers sticking out, so it makes it look like a hair.
Yeah,
ape man.
yeah.
Nice.
It's like hairy, man. It's like a hairy chest. It's
Oh,
like
so
a
it's just a mesh T-shirt then.
yeah. Actually, there's a big hole there.
Is there? Yeah, exactly.
It's just Boggy Patch Creek. No.
Steve is the original Boggy Creek monster.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool flick. And again, the book too, like I said, The Beast of Boggy Creek, incredible book. Now I have to grab the one he was talking about. What the accounts, the Boggy Creek accounts. What do you say? I think I'll have to look at his website again, and I will definitely get that because, as he pointed out, there was more accounts that he could that he didn't get into this book that's in that book and that's not in the movie. So, but what's really cool is we can't forget, and we kind of neglected. We did the forward of this book is provided by Lauren Coleman. And if anybody remembers who Lauren Coleman is, he's one of the, or was, I think he passed away, didn't he? Lauren Coleman.
I'm not sure.
But he is, yeah, when it comes to cryptozoology, I mean, Lauren Coleman was certainly one of the definite pioneers of I believe he was on I believe he was I'm sorry. I didn't know he's 76 years old. And I honestly I did not know, sorry, but it was this book is forwarded by Lauren Coleman, and yeah, he is basically when it comes to cryptozoology, the guy's written over 40 books on it. So yeah, incredible. But the book is, he's alive. Yeah, he's on Twitter. That's right. I and I'm following him on Twitter, X, but whatever. I'm not on Twitter very much, though. Are you?
I've deleted my Twitter account.
Oh, you deleted it, yeah. So I use it for the show every once in a while, but I don't use X or whatever it is now very often at all. Other
No,
than
I switched platform to Triple X. I mean, I switched
yeah, Triple X.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot more interesting.
Triple X?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Triple X, eh? So
Yeah.
everything you say is like tripleized?
Yeah, you could say that.
Tripleized. So what's new and exciting?
Now you're gonna ask this question?
Well, we got to get it in.
Big fat nothing.
Big fat nothing.
That's right.
Big fat nothing. So the holidays were good. Everything was good.
Yeah, everything was good. All things considered. Maybe it went too fast, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And here we are, 2024. I
was not in the mood at all this year.
For the holidays?
Yeah, I wasn't in the mood.
I mean, people just spend money. You know?
Yeah, well, it's not just that. I mean, I wasn't able to get into the mood. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. But then again, did you get in the mood for Halloween?
At the last minute, yeah.
At the last minute. I was right into it this year. For the first time in a long time. Halloween over the past few years has been kind of blah. And I guess a lot of it has to do with COVID, the pandemic or whatever, kind of blew chunks, even though we were able to, and I guess the same with Christmas. I mean, Christmas and New Year's, I just didn't feel it.
No, neither did I. I mean, it is more difficult, obviously, when you have a 2-year-old. That's your primary concern, as you're always focused on that more so. So that didn't help with me getting in the mood. The only reason why I got in the mood for Halloween is because I actually got to go down to my old neighbor's house and participate again with this haunted house thing. So that helped. Otherwise, it would have been just one of those days. It was like, or one of those, wasn't in the mood for that either, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot. It's scary because here we are in January, and before you know it, it's October. Time flies so fast now. It's fucking scary.
It is scary.
You really don't have time to enjoy something. It just goes too fast.
It does. It does. Really, really fast.
I mean, this year I was able to take 3 weeks off. Well, 4 weeks. 4 weeks off for Halloween. 2 weeks, and then back a week, and then 2 more weeks.
Right.
But even so, man, it just flew. And then, getting things ready for Halloween is just, I'm like, what the hell, man? This sucks. It's gone.
I know.
And then, getting ready for Christmas, same thing. You put up all these decorations. I mean, we don't put up nearly as much decorations as I do for Halloween, but I mean, still, before you know it, you're taking it down.
Oh, I know. We just took down our tree finally today, because that's the only time we had the chance to do.
As did we.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been sick. Like, I had a cold, and next thing you know, getting over that. Next thing you know, just like literally the day after. What was the day after New Year's Day? It was the day after New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And I was down and out for pretty much a week. So, yeah, I mean, I really haven't had a chance to enjoy or do anything. It's nice, but January's like that, though. I mean, what do you really do in January, February?
Fuck all,
right? I mean, really, what is there to do here? There's really, like, thankfully, we haven't had some crazy ass cold weather or snowstorms.
Although we're supposed to get a ton on Tuesday.
Yeah, but I heard it's going to be more of a mixture, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be messy, though.
It's going to be very messy.
Regardless, it'll be messy. But
freezing rain, snow, all that bullshit put together.
Garbage. But I mean, thankfully, it's not like that, what Buffalo got last year.
Oh, fuck.
What was it?
Buffalo always gets slammed.
I know, but what was it? 70? How many? What was it? 70? 70? What was it?
I don't know.
It
Can't
was
remember. I know that they got a ton of it though.
It was like 7 feet or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that. It was insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, thankfully we don't get that kind of shit here anymore. But holy crap. I mean, we did get a lot. I mean, I think we got like close to 30, didn't we?
30 centimeters?
Centimeters, yeah. They got 70 centimeters.
Yeah, we didn't get snowed in. The problem with Buffalo is that they don't really have the equipment to dig out as good as we do here. I mean, I remember one year, this is going back many years. Same thing happened down in the Buffalo area. They got really dumped on, and the city of Toronto had to send over a couple of their ice melters or snow melters.
Yeah.
To help them dig out because they just had so much snow. Right.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird because they're notoriously getting more. They notoriously get more than we do because they get the lake effect shit because they're underneath Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
So they get pelted.
They do.
It's very
basis.
Yeah, it's very rare that we get lake effect. I mean, we do get
Not
lake
to that
effect,
not to that
but
extent.
not to that extent.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean that was that's insane.
I mean, we've had snowstorms in the past where we've gotten a lot of snow, but not like that.
God, no, nothing like that. Nothing. I mean, like last year was about 30 centimeters. That's probably the most we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
30 centimeters. Right. Hopefully we don't get that kind of crap this year.
No.
I
hope
mean,
so too, man.
I mean, we're talking about El Nino year, so anything's possible, but hopefully we don't get that.
Yeah.
You know,
only time will tell.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, have you been following this crap going down in Miami?
No. What crap are you talking about?
So, okay, so there was reports of in a mall in somewhere in Florida, I don't know where, Miami, Florida. And it was surrounded by cops. Like literally half the cops in the state showed up at this place. But from what I understand was there was a gang of teens in this mall setting off fireworks. And when you set off fireworks, they think they automatically think gunshots, right?
Yeah.
So all these cops converge on this mall, but people were reporting what a 10 feet alien in this mall or something like that. I'm like, what? And they're saying, well, the mainstream media is not reporting this. Well, of course not. They're reporting what actually happened there. And all of a sudden, you're hearing these, this Las Vegas sort of scenario, 10-foot alien spotted in and around the mall. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I did not hear about that at all.
Yeah, look at it, man. Yeah, look at just let me just hold on a second. I'll pull up a report here and we can watch it. Hold on. Okay, a news report. Okay, here we go. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is, but this is.
Of aliens invading Miami are going viral on social media.
This is for real, folks. The conspiracy theory stems from a large police presence at Bayside Marketplace on New Year's Day. Take a good look at your screen. Are those aliens walking in front of Bayside Marketplace in downtown Miami?
Really?
Online conspiracy theorists are saying that shadowy figure, not far from parked Miami police cars, appears to be an alien.
Honestly, I think it looks pretty real to me. Alien look pretty chill.
I'd be friends with an alien. I think it'd be pretty cool.
The viral video was allegedly taken during the massive police presence at Bayside on New Year's Day. Crowds of young people armed with sticks began fighting. Police say juveniles were also setting off fireworks that some believed was gunfire, resulting in chaos.
There's a big crowd of people running out of Bayside and kind of grouping up outside. And then we hear more commotion, and now they're all just running through the streets, running between cars, almost getting hit by cars. It was like absolute chaos.
Now, rumors are circulating on social media saying police weren't there to handle a group of rowdy teens, but rather 8 to 10 feet tall shadow aliens.
But the real question is, are they friendly? Are they after us? Are they going to attack us? Are they going to do world domination on us? Who knows, man?
The phrases Miami Mall and aliens in Miami have been among the top 10 searches on Twitter's trending tab. And Google News even has several reports questioning the event. Miami police saying in part, there were no aliens, UFOs, or ETs. No airports were closed. No power outages. The statement ended with a facepalm emoji. On the story, and a lot of people are interested in the story because it's gone viral. Check it out for yourself. Go to our website, cbsmiami.com, and the police were very emphatic. There were no aliens.
Yeah, no aliens, but you can file this one definitely on the Only in South Florida tab.
People love it. People want to talk about it.
Makes for good conversation.
It sure does, yeah.
I think the only alien part was that that female anchor's hairstyle. Sorry, it looked kind of weird. It looked like a mop placed on top of a head.
I know.
I should talk, right? Because I got a lot of hair going on up here.
I'm just trying to find the and then like Las Vegas, the Las Vegas incident, there was people going on TikTok and so on and so on with videos claiming that we captured the alien on video, which is bullshit. It was just all fucking CGI crap. It's like, come on, really? But this is what I mean. It went viral. It in fact, I think it's still viral.
Melissa goes, LOL, only in the States.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much, right? Pretty much. But it's
you get it. We just hear a lot of them coming out of the States. That's why.
Yeah. Well, Florida, man. I mean, let's
Florida,
get this straight. Nobody is from Florida. Nobody was born in Florida. They all come to Florida. They're all from different parts of the world or the states that live in Florida, and they converge. And let me tell you, there's some pretty fucked up people in Florida. Oh my God!
I still remember what you remember the Biggs and Bar show?
Yeah,
the morning show on FM. They moved over to Ottawa, but anyway, they used to have a segment called "What the Fluck Florida," and all they would do is just read really messed up stories that came out of Florida.
Yeah,
it's just hilarious. It was a hilarious skit.
Well,
but that just goes to show how much interesting things come out of Florida.
Oh, hold on, let me just see this. I'll play the beginning here. The beginning. This is a documentary called. Hold on a sec here. Where are we? To give you an idea.
Come on, big dude. Don't put that damn cigarette up.
What the hell is this guy doing?
So many fights, man. So tell me, what are the altercations about?
Huh?
Why do you get in so many fights?
Why do I get in so many fights? I like it. I like it. I swear to God, I like it. And I'll tell you what, you might be a big dude, but right there is where my mama got killed at. And I tell you what, there ain't nobody bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little small punk. And I tell you what, and I like to throw these motherfuckers right here.
What kind of drugs is this guy on?
I love to throw
This guy. So this is a documentary called Florida Man.
Okay.
And they go around they go around the different parts of the state, and they interview different people, like ordinary people, right? And that guy, he's a guy he notoriously goes into bars, and all he does is fight.
Have I ever gotten any fights?
Right? So
Yeah.
he's like a 60-year-old man that goes in and does nothing but fight.
He's at most of the time they start trying to come on to me.
I would put her in short shorts and tank tops. I'd go into these blood bucket bars, and I'd potentially have her go in there just to have somebody fuck with her so I could fight them. What was that on Paranormal and Kaylee where I fought the big skinhead, that 6'7" dude? Well, we went up there and he was making prejudiced remarks about niggers and stuff, and I don't like that word.
Well,
I told him I didn't appreciate it.
And he just said it.
Yeah, he just said it.
What a fucking idiot.
Oh man.
Yeah, welcome to Florida.
Yeah, but I'm not kidding you, man. I've been to Florida
I know.
several times. I've been there
I
several
know.
times, and I'm telling you, they're like that.
Well, I believe it. I believe it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a shitload of nice people there.
Of course.
But
But it just seems that the concentration of effed up people live in that state.
Well, it's what's the state? It's called the right. What is it called? The state is the. I forget what they call the state. The right to something state. What is
What
it?
the slogan?
Yeah, the slogan is, hold on, Florida's slogan. Oh, Florida's slogan. No, just in God we trust. No, that's not. In
Maybe
God
it's called the state motto, Florida state motto.
Well, that's the Sunshine State. Yeah, that's one of them. But in God we trust is the main one. The Sunshine State, the Orange State, the Alligator State, the Gulf State, the Peninsula State. Okay, we know all that. God's waiting room.
God's waiting room.
Yeah. Hurricanes. The Gunshine State.
The Gunshine State. This has got to be some guy pulling a prank, man.
You listen to this one. Florida, America's Wang. Hold on a second.
Kind of does look like it.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. The fuck? Hold on.
Or Melissa tends to like dingleberries.
Dingleberries. Hold on. Slogans. Let me see if it'll. Okay, here we go. Where were we? Where do we stop? Relax, retire, and revote.
That's the slogan.
Trump, yeah, Trump. You know when they had the revote and Trump, the Trump fucking thing. Florida is a very healing place, where the sand is wrinkly. The most sizzling state in the nation. Step into Florida, the most sizzling state into the nation. Discover your own backyard. Viagra voters do it again.
Viagra voters.
Yeah. Where your vote counts and counts and counts.
Oh fuck.
That is what you get for taking Eli. Oh fuck, I don't know what that is. Florida, it's long and hangs to the left.
Surprised no one said it's limp.
Yeah. Let's see. Where America goes to die. Where the people are old and the weather is warm. Ask. We don't just cheat in football. We are not exposed to ice much in Florida. If you don't like the way we count, then take I-95 and visit one of the other 56 states.
56.
If you can't afford to live, if you can't afford a vacation home in Florida, you should be able to pay the tax. Their taxes are like literally nothing. We've been gored by the bull of politics. We're bushed. Okay,
Oh,
whatever. I know. I live in Florida. People are crazy here, and I say that lovingly. It's always sunny in the Sunshine State, except for at night. Okay.
You know, I've heard some pretty stupid shit on the internet. I'm sure you have as well. People talking, those guys. Just in general, people go out on the street and interview people and ask them random questions, whatever. But
Yeah.
one of them was about, space travel.
Yeah.
And one person goes, "Oh, why haven't we been to the sun?" And the interviewer goes, "There's a good reason why we haven't been to the sun." He goes, "No, all they have to do is go there at night." I was like, "Oh my god." Oh, that's a face bomb if you ever heard of it.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the sun at night. It'd be cooler.
Oh man. Yeah, it's an interesting place, that's for sure. It's definitely, I mean, you remember a while ago. You remember the classic I believe it was Miami too, where the dude was on Epsom salts.
Oh, I heard about that.
And he started eating the homeless guy's ear, remember?
Yep.
Fucking the zombie fucking drug.
The zombie drug.
That went viral fucking a while ago, man. People like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go to Florida. Fuck that shit. But you know what? There's a lot of good. Don't get me wrong. Florida is a beautiful state. It can be a very, very beautiful state. There's a lot of fucking great places in Florida.
It's like I said. It's like all the stuff. It's almost like everybody, even in the U.S., not just around the world, but everybody in the U.S. also tends to really point all that shit out, even though I'm sure a lot of this stuff happens everywhere else around the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida's just everybody's punching bag.
Well, because a lot of bullshit happens there. And
sure.
A lot of fucking stupid fucking shit happens there. And out of the amount of times that I've been there over the years, for the most part, it's been great.
Yeah.
I haven't had any issues. I mean, I've seen some pretty fucked up shit in Florida. I mean, I remember in Florida, you don't have to wear a fucking helmet when you're driving a motorcycle.
Really?
Yeah, it's not against the law to drive a motorcycle without a fucking helmet, which is a fucking, to me, if you get on a fucking motorcycle, it's a no-brainer to put a fucking helmet on.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I remember we were coming home from Orlando. I remember we were in Orlando for the day, and we were on our way driving across the state on Highway 4, going back towards St. Pete's, which is on the other side of Tampa. And we got caught in traffic. And we were stuck in traffic for like a couple hours before we finally got to where the accident was. It was an accident. It was brutal. The fucking body was still laid out on the fucking highway, a yellow tarp over it. It was a motorcyclist had rammed into the back of a fucking creeper van. And I guess the speed the guy was going at, he literally plowed right into the back of it. He was dead instantly. And most likely because he wasn't wearing a helmet. We had flown into Florida one time. I remember we flew into Florida. We had a rental van, brand new Chrysler Pacifica, and we were because we had to drive to Orlando. And we leaving the Tampa airport, and we climbing on the 4 again. And as we're leaving Tampa, we had to come to an abrupt halt, and all of a sudden, whack! Some fucking motorcyclist fucking drives right into the fucking back of our fucking minivan. And he's lucky that he noticed that he was going to hit us. He went down on his side and fucking literally slid into the car and took out the quarter panel. He knew if he had if he hadn't gone down, he would have been fucked.
Yeah.
You know?
Or Bexy goes, riding a motorcycle without a helmet. Sorry, may call that gene pool cleansing. I agree. Completely agree.
Yeah.
You and I have a lot of things in common. I say this world needs an enema, personally. But I've been saying that for years.
But it's a no fucking brainer. I mean, the way they drive there, Alex.
Regardless of the way they drive. I mean, even if they were cautious drivers, like the motorcyclists themselves, you cannot trust other people around you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The people there drive without insurance.
Yeah.
They don't fucking care. And if they're driving without insurance, they get into an accident. Bye. See you later.
That's right.
It's a fucking, like a crazy place.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't get me wrong. I love Florida. Like I said, there's a lot of cool places, but there's a lot of fucked up things too. It's, you could be in a fairly decent area, and across the road, you don't want to walk to, because you never know what the fuck's going on. You don't want to. There's certain places in the state you don't want to own a house, or like like a summer home or whatever. If you're Canadian, there's a lot of people that own summer homes down there. And because fucking, if you're not there, people are fucking breaking into it, busting into it.
Yeah.
Squatters.
Yep.
It's sure the beaches are great. They're awesome. But you know what? There's a lot of shit down there, man. There really is. At times, depending on when you're there and where you are, you really have to watch yourself. You really do.
Yep.
And not to mention guns.
Yep.
It's a gun state. It's a gun state. So they have the right to bear arms, I believe, in Florida. So you have to watch your fucking mouth, because you don't want, no matter what, you can't. There's times when you don't want to be a tough guy, because I'll tell you right now, that might be the end of your life.
Yep.
Depending. It's fucked up. It really is. But hey, there's a lot of beautiful places there.
Take the good with the bad.
Take the good with the bad. All right. Yeah. That's about it. We want to thank you. Thank Lyle Blackburn for coming on the show this evening, talking about the Boggy Creek creature, the folk monster. Great to have him back on. You know what? Who knows? Maybe back down the road we'll have him back on for another show. But awesome tonight. Great stuff. We're back next Sunday night. And the second stretch of season 16. Guys, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Help us reach the 1K mark. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're
94 short.
94 short. Come on, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed.
Share the video. Do whatever you gotta do.
Share the video. Yeah, get us out there. Help us reach 1K. Until next Sunday night. Take care, guys. Thanks for popping in and watching Lyle Blackburn this evening, and look out for more coolness in the coming weeks. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night.